Welcome all to today's lecture. The subject I am covering in my lecture series is VLSI technology. Subject code is KEC 053 and the target students are semester 5 students of EC branch. The topic that I am going to discuss today is diffusion furnace and dopant sources. First of all, let us understand what is meant by diffusion. So diffusion is the process of introducing impurities into selected regions of semiconductor in order to change its electronic properties. So we all know that the semiconductor device, whether it is silicon or germanium, so the intrinsic device does not contain any impurities and it has the different properties. If some impurity is added to that substrate, then it is known as the impure device, or we can say it is no more intrinsic and now the properties have been changed. So impurity atom is introduced into the surface of silicon wafer which diffuses into the lattice because of their tendency to move from regions of high concentration to low concentration, and it takes place only at a particular range of temperature, that is 900 to 1100 degree Celsius. So what is happening in this diffusion process is that there is the concentration difference and the molecules, or we can say the particles, diffuse from the higher concentration area to the lower concentration area into the lattice. So because they have the tendency to move from the higher concentration to lower concentration when a particular temperature is attained. So this is the fundamentals behind the diffusion process. Now when we talk about the diffusion process, there is a special arrangement of diffusion, and that arrangement is basically a furnace. Here it is shown. This is the tube furnace. It's a tube like structure and it is maintained at a particular temperature, and this we can see that this is a tube. So this we can see that this is the tube. The tube is inserted inside this hollow furnace and this is the quartz tube and this is the furnace, the whole arrangement. So this is known as the diffusion furnace, or we can say the diffusion reactor, and it is used to introduce impurities into silicon wafers to create PN junctions. So the process is carried at the high temperature ranging from 900 degrees Celsius to 1250 degrees Celsius. This is the range of temperature at which the diffusion process takes place. And this temperature is maintained in this furnace by using 3 individually controlled adjacent resistance elements. So what you will see that around this furnace there are 3 individually controlled adjacent resistance elements, and this is how the temperature of this furnace is maintained. So first of all, there is a tube like furnace. Inside that there is a tube structure that is of quartz, and in which the wafers are placed so that the diffusion can take place into those wafers, and the temperature around this furnace is maintained at 900 to 1250 degrees Celsius using the resistance elements. So this is the whole arrangement of this furnace. This tube furnace has a long about 2 to 3 meter hollow opening. So this furnace which you are able to see here, this is 2 to 3 meter long, and here is a hollow opening inside this through which this quartz tube is inserted, and the diameter of this quartz tube is around 100 to 150 millimeter in diameter. So this is the generalized presentation, we can say, of diffusion furnace, or we can say diffusion reactor. So what are the requirements of this diffusion furnace? That diffusion process does not result in damage to the surface of slice. Slice means a wafer. So the diffusion should take place in such a way that there should not be any damage caused to the surface of wafer. Next point, the system should be capable of processing a number of slices at a time. So diffusion should not take place in such a way that one wafer has undergone diffusion. Now next another wafer will come, then another wafer will come. No, this is not the way. Arrangement should be in such a way that a number of wafers can be handled simultaneously. The diffusion can take place in the number of wafers at a time. Then only the productivity of fabrication process will increase. Next point, after diffusion, material residing on the surface should be easily removed. So on all the fabrication processes, after a particular process takes place, there are always the impurity atoms on the surface of the substrate, and after the diffusion also there must be some residing materials and those should be removed properly. So these three should be the conditions while the diffusion is taking place. So first of all, there should not be any damage on to the surface, and all the impurities should be removed after the diffusion process has taken place. And third one, that a number of slices should be handled simultaneously in order to increase the productivity of the fabrication process. Let us see the next topic. When we are talking about the diffusion reactor or the diffusion furnace, there are the different types of diffusion furnaces depending upon the type of dopants we are using. So there can be three types of dopants. That is a solid diffusion dopant, another is liquid diffusion dopant, and the third one is the gaseous diffusion dopant. All the diffusion dopants are diffused inside the silicon wafer, which is processed, which is capped into slots, which is stacked up vertically in the slots in the quartz tube or the board inside furnace. So we will see in this next slides that in every type of arrangement, whether it is solid, liquid or gaseous dopant, the arrangement in all the cases looks like the similar one. Like there is always a boat in which the silicon wafers are put into the slots in the furnace. Let's see one by one. So this is the arrangement of diffusion system for the solid dopant sources. So let's have a look on this in this figure. So these are the entry points for the carrier gases. I will discuss these in further slide. These are the valves for allowing or shutting off the input of carrier gases. So this is the main component of this arrangement, which is the platinum source board. In this platinum source board, what is kept is the dopant material. Now this is the holder which is holding the wafers. These are all the vertically arranged wafers. This holder is having the wafers on it. So this is known as the wafer holder. Now inside the platinum source board is the dopant source which will be vaporized. Now, so this board is basically holding the solid dopant. This this is the diffusion tube. Inside this diffusion tube, both the boards and the wafer arrangement is placed, and all the exhaust gases are sent out of this system. Let's discuss the working. In this type of diffusion system, a platinum board is used to hold a solid source of dopant oxide. So the solid form of the dopant is placed inside this board. The carrier gas transports vapors from the source and deposit them on the wafers. What is this happening? These are the carrier gases. These can be O2 or N2. These two are used as the carrier gases. Now, here the dopant is in the solid form. This boat is transferred to that section of this furnace where the temperature is high, and so that the solid dopant can be converted into vapors. So this boat is transferred to that section of the furnace where the temperature is high enough to convert this solid dopant into the vapors. Now, what is the role of this carrier gas? The carrier gas from here will move towards this and the entry point of this furnace, and this carrier gas will carry the vapors of this dopant material towards the wafers, and the vapors of this dopant material will be deposited on these wafers, which are placed vertically in this holder. And now this vapor holder is moved to that section of the furnace where the temperature is low, and the vapors deposited on these wafers can be solidified. So this is the process of converting the solid dopant into the vapors. Now the deposition of this solid dopant with the help on the wafers with the help of this carrier gas. And after the gaseous molecules of this dopant are deposited on the wafers, then they are solidified by placing this wafer holder in that portion of the furnace where the temperature is low. Now the extra wafers, the exhaust gases are sent out of this system. Again, this arrangement, as discussed previously, that it is made up of the quartz. This is the quartz diffusion tube. This is the whole arrangement is put inside a furnace. This is the wafer holder. This is the platinum board for carrying the dopant source. This is the entry point for carrier gases. So this is how the solid dopant sources are diffused. So again, the source is shut off by moving the source boat to the colder region of the furnace. So this is how the whole process of diffusion of solid dopant takes place. This is another arrangement in which the liquid dopant sources are used. Now, what is this happening? What is happening in this figure is, here is the furnace. Again, this is the furnace. This is the wafer holder. Now, here the wafers are vertically arranged as previously shown. Again, this is the inlet for the gases. This is the inlet for the gases. Now, what is the difference between the previous figure and this one is that here the dopant source is in the liquid form. Where is this placed? This is placed in this bucket. Here the liquid, here this tube is carrying the liquid source. What is the role of this outer bucket? Is giving a particular temperature so that the liquid source can be converted into vapors. What is the role of carrier gas over here? Is carrier gas, again the carrier gas over here is N2 or O2. Carrier gas is bubbled through this liquid source, and this is passed on to towards the tube, the furnace tube. Again, the valve, the function of the valves is to shut or open the flow of carrier gases. So again, the bubbled liquid source goes through this nozzle and goes towards the arrangement where the wafers are placed. The role of the carrier gas is to carry the vapors of the liquid dopant source towards the wafers, where the vapors are deposited on the wafers, and later on they are solidified by placing the wafer holder in the region where the temperature is low enough to solidify the vapors of dopant sources. Again, we can see there is the vent to suction out the exhaust gases. These are the wafer holder to carry the wafers vertically. This is the quartz furnace. So in this, generally boron tribromide, that is BBr3, is used as a liquid source for diffusion. So this is the liquid dopant which is put inside this tube. We can see this capsule. So this liquid dopant is placed inside this capsule. Again, the controlled flow of carrier gas. So here the carrier gases were available, that is the N2 and O2. The controlled flow of carrier gas is bubbled through boron tribromide. So this is boron tribromide. This is boron tribromide. And the carrier gas is bubbled through this boron tribromide, as shown in the figure, with which the oxygen produces boron tribromide. So some reaction is taking place over here, because the carrier gas is O2. When it combines with boron tribromide, the reaction takes place. Which reaction? So boron tribromide, when reacts with oxygen, it gives B2O3, that is the boron trioxide, and the byproduct is boron. Again, this boron trioxide reacts with silicon, that is a silicon substrate, to produce boron, that is the boron gets diffused inside the substrate, and the byproduct is SiO2. So the controlled flow of carrier gas N2 is bubbled through the boron tribromide, as shown in figure, which with oxygen produces boron trioxide at the surface of the wafers, as per the following reaction. So what is basically taking place is the reaction of oxygen with boron tribromide. N2 is bubbled through BBr3, and when the BBr3 goes towards this, the oxygen from here reacts with the boron tribromide, and it reacts with silicon surface. So what is happening? Boron tribromide gets converted into boron trioxide upon reacting with oxygen. Byproduct is boron. Then again boron trioxide reacts with the silicon surface. So here boron trioxide reacts with the silicon surface to deposit boron, that is to diffuse the boron inside the substrate. So here the byproduct is SiO2. So we will see that all the arrangements, whether it is a solid, liquid or gases, these are similar in their structure. Only the difference is in the between the dopant sources. Like in the solid, one is solid, one is liquid, and another one is gaseous. Now let's go through the process of gaseous dopant diffusion. Now, what is the difference? In this, here the liquid source was carried inside a capsule. Here the solid source was carried inside the boat. And in the gaseous dopant sources, the gaseous dopant is itself one of the components which are going through these nozzles, through these tubes. So let's see. One is carrying the dopant gas, that is the diborane. So this is B2H6, which is passed towards the tube. So in one of the tube is that is the diborane B2H6. These two are the carrier gases, that is the O2 and N2 gases. This flow meter is showing the accuracy of the gases flow. The valves are used to open or shut down the flow of gases towards the wafers. Again, here is the wafer holder which is vertically carrying all the wafers. This is the quartz tube, and now the exhaust gases passes through this nozzle, and this box is used for, this opening is used for loading or unloading the wafers on this wafer holder. So what is happening? Here the carrier gases passes through these two tubes. The diborane reacts with the carrier gases and gets deposited on the silicon wafers. So in this case, diborane, that is B2H6, is used as a gaseous source for diffusion of silicon wafers. the principal gas flow into the furnace will be nitrogen, which is used as the carrier gas. So here the principal gas is nitrogen, which is the carrier gas. A small amount of O2 and a source of boron, that is diborane. Here the source of boron is diborane. So here the small amount of O2 and diborane will make up the rest of the gas flow. So this is diborane, this is O2 and this is the carrier gas N2. The chemical reactions that takes place are Si plus O2, that is SiO2. So silicon will react with the oxygen to form silicon dioxide. So one of the reactions taking place inside this diffusion arrangement is the reaction of silicon, that is a silicon surface substrate with the oxygen to form silicon dioxide. Another reaction is B2H6. B2H6 is diborane. The diborane reacts with O2 because the O2 passes through this tube, diborane passes through this tube. Both of these gases reacts over here, and the reaction taking place is B2H6 plus O2. It gives boron trioxide. Again, the same reaction that was taking place previously, that is the boron trioxide will react with silicon in the subsequent reaction. So here diborane reacts with oxygen to form boron trioxide, and the byproduct is hydrogen gas. Now again this boron trioxide reacts with the silicon vapor. So here what is happening? Diborane reacts with oxygen to form boron trioxide. Then boron trioxide goes to this arrangement of wafers, and the reaction of boron trioxide takes place with the silicon substrate, and as a result we get boron along with the byproduct, that is SiO2. So what is happening is boron gets diffused inside these wafers, and now the wafers can be unloaded out of this box. So this is the way of diffusing the gaseous dopant sources in the substrate, in the silicon substrate. So we can see in all the three forms. So this furnace tube is the basic arrangement. Inside this furnace tube there is also a holder which is carrying all the wafers at a number of wafers at a time. So the condition that we studied over here, that is under the requirements of diffusion furnace, that system should be capable of processing a number of slices at a time. So this has been fulfilled in all the three arrangements. Like there is a holder which is carrying a number of wafers at a time. So this is just a representative scenario in which a limited number of wafers is seen, though a large number of wafers are being handled in these arrangements. So in all the three cases there are the carrier gases. The role of the carrier gases is to carry the diffusion dopant sources towards the wafers. In all the three arrangements there are always a wafer holder which is holding the wafers. There is also a tube. The only difference is the availability of the three types of sources. The solid dopant source is available inside the boat. Another liquid dopant source is available inside this tube, and a particular temperature is given to the liquid so that it can be evaporated. And in third case also, the dopant gas, that is the diborane, is present in the gaseous form, which is being carried using these two carrier gases towards the wafer holder. So this is how the diffusion process takes place in the three different cases, that is the solid, liquid and gaseous. So in this chapter, in this lecture series today, what we discussed are the diffusion furnace. So this is the basic arrangement of diffusion furnace. There is a tube furnace inside which there is a hollow space through which the quartz tube is put, and there is an arrangement of wafers inside this furnace, and a particular temperature is maintained which is around 1000 degrees Celsius. So, and we studied about the requirements of diffusion furnace. What were the basic requirements a diffusion furnace should follow? And lastly, we went through the types of diffusion sources and how these different types of diffusion sources are diffused inside the substrate. So there were 3 types of diffusion: solid, liquid and gases. And we could also see that the basic structures are the same. There is always a furnace, there is always a tube, there is a wafer holder which is holding all the wafers, and there is some source which is carrying the source dopants. So this is how the 3 types of diffusion processes took place. Okay, thank you for today. This was all about today's lecture.